Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor. Now it's time for your weekend tech tip, brought to you by Chevy Silverado.
I thought this was a pretty good one. Yesterday, I threw it out there to the viewers that were watching. Give me an idea of what you might want to see on Sunday's show. Yesterday, as I was walking around at the show itself, I got stopped by a couple of different folks, both of which saw that and both of which had the same question about fluorocarbon. One of which just had come from seeing Tito over there at the P-Line booth and had some questions about why you might want fluorocarbon, what the differences were, and why I use it, or at least why I'm comfortable with it. Now, to answer that question specifically, if it weren't for P-Line becoming part of our show, part of our family here at Outdoor GPS about 12 years ago, I, at that time, had not changed over to fluoro. Now, it had been very, very popular for a number of reasons, but I was still a mono guy for pretty much everything when you're talking about leader material. Now, one of the questions was, do you see a difference? I absolutely do see a difference in the right circumstances, and typically that's going to be low, clear water. Now, over the last handful of years, you've heard me talking about, especially with these low rivers that we've had for the last, seems like forever, the last handful of years for steelhead in February and March and April, fishing all the way down to 8-pound fluorocarbon, because I will admit there are times where we will get bit only because, and others will be out there with different line, dudes that we're with, and they're not getting bit. We go all the way down to that really light fluorocarbon line and get bit. It does make a difference. In those conditions, steelhead, a lot of people have told me over the years, well, steelhead aren't leader shy. I find that to be absolutely inaccurate. Salmon, I would say that might be more true, but again, it all falls down to the situation that you're in. If it's low, clear conditions, those clear conditions are not an advantage when you've got rope as your leader, right? Monofilament does not hide. There is no circumstance, no matter what color your monofilament is. If it's clear, and some of them call it crystal, or if it's a green, whatever, in those clear conditions, that line is visible. In my experience, steelhead are line shy in those conditions. Now, if it's off color, raging water, lots of disturbance up on the surface, white water at the top of different runs, that might not come into play. But in all those situations in between where you're actively fishing, like say you're just bobber dogging, chandeliering, drift fishing in softer conditions, clear water, fluoro is absolutely an advantage. There's a reason why this is so popular. That's not something that somebody just made up, okay? It really is a line that will disappear in the water. You can take a 12-pound, just like this CXX from P-Line, it's a true monofilament. In my opinion, it's really the only monofilament that I use if I'm going to be using it as a leader material, is the CXX. Now, there's a lot of different versions, okay, of mono. A leader material, there's a material for your reels itself. A lot of people overlook that, and they just use the mono 25-pound, for springers, which is fine. I use that too sometimes. But in the end, if I'm in clear conditions, it's absolutely going to be monofilament. Or excuse me, fluorocarbon, dummy. But here, let's just take a quick look with the Kershaw Tech Cam. There's so many different versions, and this is where the question came from. He literally just got done, one of them in particular, was just talking with Tito Montemore from P-Line over at the booth, and he got a little confused with all the different versions. And really the easiest way to explain this is to take a look at the packaging that you're going to see when you go over to Fishman's. You're going to see a giant wall of all this different styles of lines, different manufacturers, monofilament, fluorocarbon, different versions of fluoro, coated copolymer lines. There's a lot of things going on, but just neck it all down. Just look at the boxes, the packaging. Like this P-Line fluorocarbon, this is 100% pure fluorocarbon, but it's also a spool of 250 yards, or at least in this particular, 250 yards. That's intended for a reel. This is something that you would use on your spinning rod, your bait caster, really slanted a lot more towards the bass fishing world, although we have morphed pretty much everything from the bass fishing world into something that we use to chase steelhead. A lot of people like to use fluorocarbon on a reel when they're fishing for steelhead, if they're fishing spinners, if they're doing different techniques. Okay, I can honestly say I don't own a rod with fluorocarbon on any, well, I shouldn't say that. A couple of my walleye setups are fluorocarbon. So it is designed specifically for reels. the leader material is going to say it, and it's going to be very, very prominent, and they're always going to be 100-yard spools or less, because this is intended to be a leader material, not for your reels. Now, you could do it if you wanted to, but this is a high-end product that's specifically used for I should say designed for leader material. This is probably the most common that people use, the SS leader from fluorocarbon, or excuse me, from P-Line, the fluorocarbon product. I really like the Shinsi. It's something that I've had very good luck with. I use it almost exclusively when I'm salmon fishing. Most of the time when I'm steelhead fishing, I've got either a 10, 12, or a 15-pound Shinsi leader material, and that's exactly what it's made for. There's a little bit of stretch in Shinsi, whereas with the Tactical, which is another product that's intended specifically for reels, not something that you would want to use as a leader material. It's a little bit thicker. There's very little stretch in that particular line. So there are certainly differences in there. Another one that I use a lot, along with the Shinsi, the SS, I do use that mostly for Chinook fishing, but the CFX leader material is also another one that necks down that diameter, also is nearly invisible. They all say, it's invisible in water. Well, it is. But if you get down there and got real close, even if I put my cheaters on, I can look down there and I can see that leader, okay? But if you were to have mono in the water, the same pound rating as the fluoro, it's going to be nearly invisible. And it certainly is an advantage, and it's certainly something to look into. P-Line, by all means, lots of manufacturers out there, whoever you're dedicated to, but I would highly recommend, as a leader material, fluorocarbon. Just keep that in mind. All right, we're going to cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap it up and give you an idea of what we've got going on for this upcoming weekend, and it is another very busy weekend here at Outdoor GPS. We'll be right back.